It takes more than being a great engineer to be an employed engineer. Oof. This is Soft Skills Engineering, episode 344. I'm your host, Dave Smith.
I'm your host, Jamison Danes.
Soft Skills Engineering is a weekly advice podcast for software engineers of all employment levels. And I guess this is my way of just saying sorry to all those who have lost employment recently. However, with some of the severance packages that I've seen advertised, it might be a little while before you actually lose income, like several more months.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're going to get laid off, being handed a big pile of cash is not the worst way.
Right. There are worse ways to get laid off.
And some people definitely get those worse ways. Not everybody gets those juicy severance packages.
That's true.
It's rough out there.
Also, I've recently learned, just for your fun and knowledge, that a huge proportion of people laid off from some of these big headliner tech companies are actually not software engineers. I saw someone do an analysis, and they concluded that it's actually not even a majority. In fact, something like 20% or something, which I found surprising.
I guess it kind of makes sense if a lot of the growth, I think, for example, Amazon grew enormously, but they probably didn't double their engineering team. A lot of it was maybe on the logistics or warehouse side or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. All I know is it makes perfect sense to comfort my own biases that you would not want to lay off engineers.
Yeah, surely we're fine.
Yeah.
That's the message here. Surely everything is fine.
Yes.
As it has been in the past.
As it always has been and always will be.
Yeah. I want to thank our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Compiler, which is an original podcast from Red Hat discussing tech topics big, small, and strange. You'll hear more about them later.
All right. I want to thank our patrons who are contributing at the level where they get a one-time shout-out. They are Joe Grossberg, probably. Sorry, Joe. And our weekly shout-outs are Anthony Ongaro, Kent C. Dodds, Oladapo Fadi, Monkey Face Emoji, I Love Mavis, Santa Hopar, Jonathan King, Connie Lee, Bartek Tekkowski, Nick Cantor, Ira Chan, Jenny Kim, John Grant, Ganon Den Hooten, Ohio. Not to be confused with Coshocton, Ohio. Kyle Boz, Braden Keynes, The Stochastic Parrot, Valentin at Datafold, Cody Sale, Noah Fraser Logue, Will Angel, Travis Sanders, Ernga, Andres Reales, Alice Jost, Nick Hathaway, Craig Motlin, Owen Chartle, testingisdocumenting.org, patreon.com.au, we're hiring, and Philip John Basile. If you'd like to join this crew, go to softskills.audio, not Scoff Skills, although Jamison, I just thought of a spin-off podcast.
All right.
About scoffing.
To the domain name registrar.
Okay, yes,
quick.
Onward to the domain name. If you'd like to join these folks, go to softskills.audio and click the support us on Patreon button. And a big thank you to everyone who's done that.
I'm looking up Ganandon Hooten, Ohio, and it's possible that 1/1000th of the population of that whole town is a Patreon supporter.
Oh, it's a real place. Look at that. I'm sure I pronounced it wrong.
Yeah. But on the upside, it's not like there's that many people from there to get mad at you for pronouncing it wrong. So it's fine.
All right.
Oh, should I read our question?
Yes.
All right. This is from a listener named Raymond. I'm a senior front-end engineer at a medium-sized tech company. During the good times of limitless tech growth, a common way for engineers to grow our impact was to find ways. An important criteria at many companies for promotion was to find ways to lead, manage more people, whether this was becoming a manager and having more direct reports or becoming a tech lead and mentoring more people, especially interns and junior engineers. Now, with many companies doing layoffs and hiring freezes, mine included, teams simply aren't growing and there just aren't as many people to, quote, impact. What are some other ways we can have more impact and grow my leadership skills? Both for hitting promotion criteria, but also for my own growth as an engineer that would like to be a manager or staff engineer someday.
Yes. I have heard so much about this recently. Have you heard about this trend, Jamison, or this kind of trend reversal of recent months?
The trend reversal of teams not growing, or of that affecting kind of promotion?
Yeah, so just, I guess, both. You know, the fact that most tech companies at this point are not on the same aggressive growth trajectory that they were 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so the obvious way to show impact is gone. the obvious way used to be 47 engineers do my bidding. I am so impactful.
Yeah.
And now it's everyone's gone and I don't know what to do. Like I don't know how to demonstrate my impact. The one number I had.
Yeah, you can't just point to a number of dollars. Like,
right.
Look, my revenue.
Yeah, the revenue I brought in when I hit my sales quota.
Or often you can't.
Yeah,
that's the dream.
Most of the time
in some ways, but yeah, it's more disconnected than that. Well, to answer your question, I've heard of the first concern of like it's kind of growth has slowed. I haven't heard about the second one specifically, but it does make sense.
And I've lived this. So when I was at a big tech co, and I was looking for promotion opportunities, I remember like front and center on my promotion material was the number of engineers that I had helped grow the organization to. It was just so tangible and so concrete. And, it was also artificial. It's like, hey, I hired all these people. It's a brand new area of the product. And I had essentially free money coming in to pay their salaries. And so it was very easy to hire them and grow influence. But is it really influence? Did I actually influence those people? Did I actually influence the product in a way that actually generated business or value? And
it's also like, really, somebody else couldn't have also hired people with free money? Like,
right. Exactly. Yeah. Here's $4 million.
It's tough to show. Yeah, it's tough to show how that is like unique to you specifically.
Look, I took your $4 million and I bought a whole bunch of Nikes. Look at all the impact and influence I had on these shoes. They are beautiful.
Yes. I'm a sneakerhead thought leader.
Yes.
I think you are asking yourself this question. Probably your company is asking itself a similar version of this question, which is like, wait, without free money, how do we grow?
How do we do anything?
Yeah. So this is not a unique problem to you. This is one of the kind of trickle down effects of changing tech climate. It seems like actually in the United States, at least, the economy seems to have had some encouraging signs, but I think there's certainly been a shift in tech is not back where it was a year ago, for sure.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a bit of a realization less than a change in material conditions. So ask your CEO what their plan is for your company, and then do that but for your career.
To show
I think
impact.
That's my advice. Yeah. Yeah.
And your CEO will probably say,
excuse me, how are you going to grow the company without, or how are you going to show impact from the company without endless free money coming in?
Yeah.
And how would I do the same thing?
Right. And your CEO might very well say, my job for the next 2 years is to keep this company from dying. That's hard to, it's hard to get a promotion because you survived.
Yeah. Probably your CEO won't say that, even if they're thinking
that's
that.
True. That's true.
They like to speak in more inspirational terms about the unique opportunities ahead of us, but that is very possible. I mean, that is kind of a flip side here, where if there are layoffs, probably the total amount of work has not decreased. Like there's more stuff to do.
And certainly not the per capita amount of work, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like there's opportunities for impact out there. It might be more like take over this thing that nobody else that the team was laid off for, or I don't know, step in and fill some of the gaps that have been created.
Yeah. Yeah, like head off disaster. Like, oh, hey, I just found out an entire team disappeared. There is now a piece of software running without attendance, and they had a process where they had to restart it every 2 weeks or it crashed. And I just found out about it, and today is day 13 of 14.
Their software gets tired, right? Like it needs to rest, like we all do.
Yeah.
And
we all get 2 days at the end of every week.
Yeah. Think of how tired the garbage collector is. It's been running nonstop.
All that garbage. Actually, the problem is the garbage collector isn't doing anything. And that's why it has to be restarted every 14 days.
It gave up. It was laid off. The garbage collector was laid off.
I was just thinking about all of the memory that is supposed to have been freed, but there's this lingering reference to it somewhere, so the garbage collector doesn't collect it. And instead, we put in place a process to restart it.
I mean, I think that's called Ruby in like 2007.
Yeah. Restart the process every 100 requests.
Yeah, every day. Yeah.
Actually, that is a real thing. A lot of these container services that run these languages in many forms, not just Ruby, but they actually have a configuration where you can specify how many web requests you want them to handle before restarting the process. I'm like, why does this exist?
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's because, I mean, turning it off and on again is a universal solution at all levels of abstraction.
Yeah, everywhere on the stack.
It makes sense. Yeah. I had an idea, and then I started talking about Ruby. What was my idea?
Well,
okay, here's my idea.
I knew it.
In this time of constrained resources, if you can show impact on revenue or increased efficiency, like large impact on cost
reduction,
you can show you're doing more with less, or the same amount with a lot less.
Yes.
Or somehow, despite the downturn in tech in general, here's like, look, this part is going better because of me. Look at all my revenue.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
Always important, but it's going to be more important now.
I was just going to say the exact same thing. Take all those charts that you've been using to show your impact where they go up and to the right. You got to do a total paradigm shift and find cost charts that go down and to the right. That's what you need now.
I mean, especially in startups, growth is always more attractive than cutting costs, because there's this vague idea that like, and we'll figure out how to cut costs later once we grow enough. But it's I don't know, if you can go clean up a whole data center worth of instances in a cloud somewhere that weren't important then, but now are that's a very tangible impact you can show. Sometimes it's easier to know like, what specifically can I do to cut costs? I think if you're talking about promotion and growth, though, it's going to have to be on the order of like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like if you go turn off a service that costs $60 a month, I don't know, nobody's going to care. So the magnitude will need to be large, but it's possible those opportunities have not been explored yet because of it wasn't worth it before. Now it is.
Yes, absolutely. And I do not underestimate the value in this economy of reducing your company's costs, because it really can make a big difference, especially if you're a smaller company and you know things. I promise you as an engineer know things about the costs of operating your software that other people probably don't know. And you may be assuming that the costs are the way they are and they've been carefully reviewed and optimized and they cannot be improved. But don't make that assumption, because there's a very good chance no one has ever looked. Because in the last 10 years, no one had a reason to look. Now they do.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you, Jamison. I think cost reduction is a huge one. Just go open up your AWS console and start poking around at the bill and asking questions.
On the other hand, I'm going to undermine my own advice. Probably the vast majority of your costs are employee salaries. So there might be a limit to how much. Say you reduce your AWS cost to 0. Mm-hmm. Maybe that buys you like, I don't know, another month of runway. Yeah. yeah, exactly.
Those two people will be very happy you did, though.
Yeah. Yes. Now they're back to computing on pieces of paper, like it started out as. Another way you can do this is to identify like whole swaths of things that you are doing that you can stop doing, to invest more in important areas. Often it's hard to, it's painful as well to look at like a project that's been going on for a long time, or I don't know, a product that's been invested in and is doing okay, but like
time to kill it.
Asking what if we didn't do this,
right?
That's and then put all that effort towards something that seems more important or feels more successful.
And I'm just going to guess that that kind of question you're asking is maybe above the pay grade of the question asker, but that's something you could actually bring to the attention of your leadership. Help them understand the cost of operating the software they have so that they can make decisions about the software they want to have.
Yeah, that's definitely on your leadership's mind, or it should
Absolutely
be.
is
But
right
I
now.
think your perspective as an operator of the software can be useful as well. Maybe there are maybe the CEO assumes, oh, we can't get on without the foobar service.
Right.
Like we've always had 10 people working on the foobar service, and really, like, I don't know, we could have 2 people working on it
Yep.
and suffer
And it'd be
these
fine.
costs that are worth it.
And
basically, or
congratulations, you
something
just
like
caused
that,
8 of your coworkers to get laid off. Be
I
careful.
mean, that is a possibility.
Tread cautiously.
I think, I mean, some stuff hasn't changed, right? If you can show impact on business outcomes, if you can show we built this thing and then it I don't know, sped up customer acquisition, or like, the more you can tie it to concrete things, the more impactful it is, and the better of a case it is for promotion. That's true regardless of
It is.
what is going on in the economy. But you that might be your only option now, instead of kind of look at all these people I helped hire.
Right, exactly.
With that being gone.
Look at all these people I helped hire to cover up the fact that I didn't do anything else this year.
Yeah, I mean,
people.
it has been interesting. So we've done some hiring freezes or slowdowns at my employer as well, and boy, does hiring take a lot of time.
Yeah.
So there is some like added efficiency and focus that comes from saying, this is the team we have, and we're not going to spend like a quarter of our time growing the team or trying to grow the team. It'll be interesting when I feel like it'll be like when some of the pandemic restrictions got relaxed and people like went back to parties and had to figure out how to be social again.
Right.
I feel like some places might have to figure out, oh yeah, how do you interview again?
How do you be a
like,
business?
how do we do this?
Yeah. I think the name of the game for the next little while is focus. Choosing to focus carefully on the areas that yield valuable outcomes and avoiding areas that don't. And sometimes it's not even a matter of bad versus good. It's just high value versus less high value. And I can't give specific details to this question asker, but that's the mindset that I would adopt right now.
Yeah. All right. Have we answered this question?
I think so.
Good luck. Do you want to read our next question, Dave?
Yes, I do. This comes from an anonymous listener who says, I am a very senior engineer at my company. There is an engineer on the team less senior than me, but not under me on the management tree. This person is well regarded in the organization, but has a strong tendency to over-engineer things. Normally, I don't mind a little over-complexity if it means that the person leading the project is taking ownership and accountability, but with this individual, they tend to be put in a place to make sweeping decisions that broadly impact systems when it's clear that they don't really have a full picture of what's going on. To make matters worse, when I raise these points directly, the person will usually offer to accommodate my concerns by further overcomplicating their solution rather than stepping back and picking an approach more appropriate for the problem. Oh, man.
What we lack is a generic plugin framework for the concern accommodating pattern. Off to build that, and then the idea will fly free.
Oh, and then I just realized in order to
production.
build that plugin framework, I need a plugin framework so that I can produce these plugin frameworks more efficiently, because I'm constantly needing to create plugin frameworks. Isn't it amazing how easy it is to overcomplicate things?
Yeah, and it's fun sometimes too.
Fun like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, like a lot of the appeal of software is you're putting together these imaginary puzzles. You're building these systems, and I don't know, it's fun to tinker with stuff. And I suspect the person you're talking about doesn't think, I'm going to overcomplicate this. They might think like, this abstraction here will make this future problem easier to solve or avoid. I don't know. Like they probably have a reason, but also it's easy to think of reasons to do stuff you want to do when really like you just want to do it because it's fun.
Yeah, because I like working on this. I don't care about the outcomes.
Yeah.
I love that you came up with a joke about complaining to someone about them being producing over complex solutions by producing just the exact perfect overly complicated solution. I'm just relishing in that beautiful thought.
Thank you. I I appreciate that, Dave. That makes me feel good.
You're like, I've thought a lot about this.
I have a couple suggestions. One suggestion is a refocusing on getting something to production and building upon that. Part of what is happening here, I think, is your coworker is designing software because they're attempting to anticipate what the requirements are, and that's always hard. And having a firm dose of reality in the form of like people or systems using your software in a real environment is a good counterbalance to your imagination of what the requirements are. Not every problem lends itself to this solution, but I think it's easier, or it applies more widely than you might think. Like, I don't know, say you're building a database, right? You might think, well, it's hard to ship an MVP of a database. Now I have to think of how you can ship an MVP of a database in real time. Hang on, give me a second. I mean, maybe you'll say like, I don't know, we want a process running on a server by the end of the day, and maybe it just like pipes everything to dev null, but there's something running somewhere. Like that feedback loop of getting something out and iterating upon that instead of trying to complete all of the requirements maybe ahead of time, or let me try this again. Hang on. I'm going to use an example at work recently. So a team at work had a project to build, and the way they went about building it was like put out a mock of the project and then gradually kind of fill in pieces with real functionality. All right. Where the mock was not just like a visual, like a UI mock. There was some APIs that had hard-coded responses and like things like that. But at every step of the process, the team was trying to think like, how can we deliver this and make it more real rather than how can we exercise this code in production? And that had a very powerful impact on the design, where we ended up doing some pretty different things than we were originally considering that we thought would be important at the beginning of the project, because we realized, we don't need to do this.
Turned out, not only were they not important, you didn't even need them.
Yeah, we didn't need them. It was good enough without them. Or a new solution that was easier appeared when we got into production, that kind of thing. So I think I'm rambling a lot, but the point of my ramble is real information about real usage earlier can help avoid over-engineering.
I agree. I was thinking that anytime this person has an idea that you think is over-engineered, just send them a link to a video of a Rube Goldberg machine.
That feels a little passive-aggressive.
I mean, you could take it as passive-aggressive, or you could take it as a real awesome system that, like, you could actually find a whole collection of, like, 10 different Rube Goldberg machines from simple to extremely complex, and then send them the one that best represents their particular solution today.
Yeah. There is a way to do this wrong. I'm going to preface what I'm about to say with that. But
okay.
Constraints in the form of goals for when to ship by can be helpful here. If you want to ship a thing in 3 weeks, then there's a limit to how much over-engineering you can do. Again, this can turn bad, and you can get into just like sprint furiously and never build good abstractions mode and just drown in tech debt. Mm-hmm. But a goal date, I'm not using the word deadline, because if you're saying we want to ship in 3 weeks, that's a thing that you said, so it's not really a deadline. But
okay.
But that can help clarify what's important and what isn't, and what you can add later. And depending on the company and the problem domain, it's possible that one of the outcomes here is like nobody ever uses this thing.
Yeah, it is possible.
In which case, the most important thing to find out is, does anyone care? And any over-engineering is just a huge waste, because if the answer is no, then you want to know that sooner than later.
So
I
time
mean, that's
constraint.
if you have like a large established business with a clear need of, I don't know, if you're like updating your fleet of servers to a new version of Linux or something like that, then that's
Hard
not
to
like an
over-engineer
MVP kind of. Yeah.
Is that
Well,
what you're saying?
yeah, I could over engineer it. What I'm saying is that's not like a startup, like see if the market wants this thing type of situation. But in that case, I would say, like, I don't know, get one server upgraded today and see what that took. And then, like, don't, if you can't start until it's all done, that is a problem.
All right. Well, have we answered the question?
I think so. I mean, have we?
It was more of a philosophical question. Answer as you like.
That was rhetorical. You're saying your question of have we answered the question was a rhetorical question?
Yeah, it was just a polite way to get you to say yes.
Oh. Well, I'm not going to say yes. I'm going to say no because I have another idea.
Okay.
So we've talked about kind of how to change the incentives and system around this person, but the time-honored tradition of just talking to them is also on the table. Have you considered saying, hey, I've noticed you I think I see a tendency to over-engineer stuff.
Yeah, like it's one thing to say this solution is over-engineered, and it's another thing to say you as a person have a problem, you know?
Yeah, and that's certainly harder to say, but you are a very senior engineer at your company. I think part of the job is to use that super seniority to lend your wisdom to people and see things that they might not be able to see.
Yeah,
maybe this engineer doesn't see that.
It's called mentoring, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
There's a lot there about kind of the relationship and trust to build to make that go over well. And we're going to skip that.
Yeah.
We'll just assume that's all there already.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll do great.
But yeah, never underestimate the kind, thoughtful, direct approach of I've seen this pattern. Can we talk about it?
Yeah, I agree.
And in a way, the fact that you're not their manager, you're not in the management hierarchy for them, but are just very senior, that might make this easier because it's not like you coming down on them to get them in trouble. It's more like you're helping from the side.
That's right. And I would couch it in terms of I'm trying to, or couch it in the motivation of I want to help you have a more successful career, and I believe that you have a habit that is going, and maybe even a blind spot that is going to limit your success. So this isn't me just coming down on you because I don't like your over-engineered designs, which I don't, but I also want you to be successful.
All right, now we've answered the question. I'm not even going to leave room
Perfect.
for doubt.
No.
I'm certain we've answered the question.
100% certainty achieved.
Dave, what can people do if they want their own questions answered?
Go to softskills.audio and click the Ask a Question button where you can fill out our little form. And we must say, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. Thank you so much for all the people who submit questions every week. We love you. We love your questions. And you have our commitment to try to answer all the questions one day.
I think we might just like try and crank them out real quick on our deathbed, though.
Yeah.
Quick, pull up the spreadsheet with my dying breath. Get out of the way, family.
There's something
I've
I
already
need to
said goodbye.
do before I go.
Quit your job, 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 quit your job.
Yeah, maybe we should just answer them in the spreadsheet and just send it out to the world. Okay.
All right. That sounds like a plan. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you next week.